All right, welcome. Today we're going to break down something that pretty much all of us do online every single day without even thinking about it. But for millions of people, this one simple action is a huge hidden barrier, one that can make the web just incredibly frustrating. I mean, think about it. You've done this a million times, right? Dragging a file into a folder, reordering your favorite playlist, moving an appointment on your calendar. It just feels so intuitive. It's like the simplest, most natural thing you can do on a screen. But what if I told you that simple, fluid motion isn't simple at all? That it's actually a really complex, four-step move that takes a surprising amount of physical skill to pull off? Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. First, you have to tap or click to grab the thing. Then, you have to press and hold it, keeping that pressure just right. Then, you have to move your pointer all the way to the end point. And finally, you release. If any one of those steps in that chain goes wrong, the whole thing just fails. And that's the whole issue right there. For a lot of people, getting through all four of those steps isn't just a little tricky. It can be really cumbersome, super error-prone, or, in some cases, just completely impossible. And we're not talking about some tiny niche group here. This affects people with all kinds of motor impairments. Folks who use specialized tools like a trackball mouse, a head pointer, or even eye gaze systems. For any of them, that middle part, the press and hold while moving, well, that can be a massive wall. So this is such a known problem that thankfully there's an official rule for it. It's part of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. You'll often hear it called WCAG. The specific rule is Success Criterion 2.5.7, and it's all about these dragging movements. Okay, so let's be super clear about what we're talking about. A dragging movement is basically any time you click down on an element and that element then follows your pointer around until you let go. The really important thing to remember here is that the path you take doesn't matter at all. It's all about the start point and the end point. And this is really, really important to get right. This is not the same as what we call a pointer gesture. With a drag, like we just said, the journey from A to B is irrelevant. But with a gesture, think about drawing a specific shape with your finger to unlock your phone. The path you trace is the action. It's everything. This rule we're talking about today, it's only for that first type, the simple drag. So what's the solution? Honestly, the core rule is just beautifully simple. It says that for any feature that uses a dragging motion, you have to provide another way to do it, an alternative that works with just a single pointer, with absolutely no dragging needed. And you might be asking, what's a single pointer? Well, it's pretty much the most basic input you can imagine. We're talking about a simple click with a mouse, a single tap with your finger on a screen, or a touch from a stylus. It's that one fundamental action that nearly every device can handle, and that's what makes it the key to all of this. Okay, so enough with the theory. What does this actually look like in practice? The best part about this is that the solutions, these accessible alternatives, are often just better designs. They're cleaner, more elegant, and honestly, more usable for everybody. Let's start with a classic example, something you see all the time, sortable lists. Reordering your to-do list or shuffling your music queue. The default way to do this is almost always dragging and dropping. But instead of making someone do that awkward press, hold, and drag dance up a long list, there's a much better way. Just let the user click the item. That simple click can bring up move up and move down buttons. That's it. One tap to select, one tap to move. It's clean, it's precise, and anyone can do it. All right, here's another great one, interactive maps. Think about pretty much any map you've ever used online. How do you move around? You click and drag the map, right? Well, the accessible solution here is something I guarantee you've seen before. Just add simple on-screen buttons. Little arrows for up, down, left, and right. This lets absolutely anyone navigate the map just by using a series of simple, separate clicks. Okay, how about sliders? For things like setting the volume, adjusting brightness, or choosing a price range on a shopping site. These are almost always little knobs that you have to drag along a track. Now, this solution is probably my favorite. Instead of forcing you to drag that little thumb indicator, a much smarter design lets you just tap or click anywhere on the slider's track, and boom, the indicator instantly jumps right to that spot. Honestly, it's often faster, way more precise, and it only takes a single tap. So when you step back and really look at these examples, you start to see the bigger picture. This isn't just about checking a box on an accessibility checklist. It's really about a fundamental shift in how we approach design in the first place. I mean, the official intent behind the rule really says it all. The whole point is to make sure there's another way to get things done, a way that doesn't rely on the physical dexterity needed to drag stuff around. It's all about providing an alternative path. And this is the real kicker, the big takeaway. When you provide these single-pointer alternatives, you're not just helping users with disabilities, you almost always end up creating an interface that's more precise, less frustrating, and just plain better for every single person who uses your site or app. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you're designing something, or even just using a website, and you find yourself dragging an element, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, what interface could you make more accessible tomorrow? Think about that tricky four-step process, and think about who might be left out. And maybe more importantly, how could a simpler, more thoughtful design invite them back in?